The first red flag wasn't the wedding. It was a passport. On a damp autumn morning in Brno, Czech Republic, a city known more for its quiet charm than scandal, Lenka Varova stood outside the registry office. Clutching a bouquet she had picked herself. White roses, simple, elegant. Exactly what Daniel Mercer had told her he liked. He was late. Daniel was never late. Lenka checked her phone again. No messages. No calls. Just a faint reflection of her own anxious face staring back at her through the black screen. Then, finally, a car pulled up. Daniel stepped out, smiling like nothing had happened. Charming, apologetic, perfectly composed. "I'm sorry," he said, brushing a kiss against her cheek. "Passport issue. Minor delay." Lenka laughed it off. She always did. That was her first mistake. Daniel Mercer had arrived in Brno 8 months earlier. He introduced himself as a British consultant working in logistics, temporarily assigned to Central Europe. He was polished, educated, attentive, and lonely. That's how he framed it. Lenka, a 32-year-old language teacher, met him at a cafe near Moravian Square. He asked thoughtful questions, remembered small details, and made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in years. Within 3 months, he proposed. Within 5, they were planning a wedding. Friends raised eyebrows, but Daniel had answers for everything. Why no family at the wedding? They're complicated, estranged. Why no social media presence? I value privacy. My work requires discretion. Why was his apartment sparsely furnished? I travel light. Temporary assignment, remember? Every question had an answer. Every doubt had a soothing explanation. And every lie was wrapped in just enough truth to make it believable. The ceremony was small, quiet, intimate. Just a handful of Lenka's friends, a civil officiant, and Daniel, calm, confident, entirely in control. He signed the registry without hesitation. Lenka signed hers with trembling hands. They were now husband and wife. Legally, or so she believed. 2 weeks after the wedding, Daniel left for a business trip to Vienna. He packed lightly. He kissed Lenka goodbye. And he never came back. At first, it felt like a misunderstanding. Then a delay. Then a problem. His phone went straight to voicemail. His email bounced. The company he claimed to work for had no record of him. That's when panic turned into something colder. Something sharper. Something that felt like betrayal. Lenka reported Daniel missing to the local police. Detective Karel Novotny took the case. At first glance, it seemed routine. A foreign national, possibly having fled the country. But something about Lenka's story didn't sit right. Did you ever see his passport closely? Novotny asked. Lenka hesitated. No, not really. That answer changed everything. The passport Daniel used to register the marriage was real, but the details weren't. The number belonged to a legitimate British citizen. But the photo? It had been altered. Subtly, professionally. Someone had gone to great lengths to create a believable identity. And that meant one thing. Daniel Mercer wasn't his real name. Interpol was contacted. Fingerprints lifted from the registry office matched a man already flagged in multiple countries. His real name was Adrian Cole, and he had done this before. In Portugal, in Poland, in Hungary. Each time, the pattern was the same. Enter the country under a false identity. Target a woman with stable income. Build a relationship quickly. Marry legally. Gain access to finances. Disappear. But Brno was different, because this time he had made a mistake. Back in the United Kingdom, a woman named Claire Cole received a phone call that would unravel her entire life. She had been married to Adrian for 11 years. They had 2 children, and as far as she knew, her husband was on a long-term work assignment abroad. He called occasionally, sent money, maintained the illusion, until the Czech police contacted her. "Mrs. Cole," the officer said carefully, "we have reason to believe your husband has remarried." The silence on the other end was deafening. Adrian hadn't just been deceiving Lenka. He had been living 2 parallel lives. Legally married in the UK. Legally married again in the Czech Republic. But here's where it got darker. Financial records revealed that Adrian had been systematically draining accounts. Not just Lenka's, but Claire's as well. Loans taken out in their names. Credit lines maxed. Assets quietly transferred. He wasn't just a con man. He was building an empire of stolen lives. It took 6 months. 6 months of tracking financial movements, forged documents, and digital traces. Finally, a breakthrough came from an airport in Istanbul. A man traveling under yet another alias triggered a passport alert. He was detained. Fingerprints confirmed it. Adrian Cole was arrested. Lenka sat in a courtroom months later, staring at the man she thought she knew. He didn't look at her. Not once. Claire sat on the opposite side of the room. The two women locked eyes briefly. Strangers bound by the same betrayal. Neither spoke. There were no words for something like this. Adrian was charged with multiple counts: fraud, identity theft, bigamy, financial exploitation. The evidence was overwhelming. He was sentenced to 14 years in prison. Lenka never wore white again. She moved out of the apartment they had shared, unable to shake the feeling that every corner held a lie. Claire filed for divorce. But the damage, financial, emotional, psychological, would take years to repair. 2 women, 2 lives. One man who had turned love into a weapon. In the end, what made the case so chilling wasn't just the crime. It was how ordinary it all seemed at the start. A meeting, a connection, a promise, and a man who knew exactly how to make someone believe it, until there was nothing left to believe in. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more gripping true crime narratives and shocking real-life twists. What do you think drove him to live such a double life? Greed, ego, or something deeper? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective.